I've expressed some. You and I have had similar concerns throughout. My biggest concern has been like chemistry and flavor of character. I do feel like Vanessa Kirby and Ebon Moss-Bachrach are perfect for these roles, but I had been concerned about Joseph Quinn. Still a little lamb, but that was closer to how I feel about the character. Obviously, we haven't seen a ton of him. Like we've seen little fragments in a few trailers, but Human Torch is one of my favorite characters. Johnny Storm, it's like a personal thing. And then I personally really want to have a beer with Pedro Pascal, and I do not feel like Reed Richards is that man. But I did feel a little bit more of the intensity and the urgency. I'm just waiting, and we're going to get it in the movie. I hope for that absent-minded professor, like he's a man that's like a little pretension, a little like I've got other things to do, and that I got a little just a dash here. But what I hadn't seen that I did get here that is kind of solving a lot of those concerns is there is a bond, a familial banter and comfort that I hadn't really felt. I felt there were scenes that had been written for that, but I hadn't felt. Like you can acknowledge something as like this is to show their family and not feel it. Like it's all about the emotion, the connection. This one were some of those same scenes, but whether it was a slight extension, whether it was a slight reframing, whether it was a different take, I felt that warmth. I felt that bond. I felt what that Marvel's first family needs to be. So even if some disparate parts, I don't feel like as much of the comic characters I know and love as I want them to, as long as they're Marvel's first family, as long as the depth and the care is there, then I'm going to get that. Then you add Galactus that looks great, and you give me like that delivery from Julia Garner as that universe's Silver Surfer. This definitely put a nice balm on my concern. And I do think the scope feels bigger, like the intensity, all the things that, we talked a lot about the stoicism. This feels more like it's a pressing and more of an urgency and more of, a sci-fi adventure swashbuckling family, which is what they are. They need to be adventurers. And the adventure feeling as much as the family feeling are the two things about this family that I hadn't felt. I got it here. So those things I'm really happy about.
Yeah, I agree. A lot more personality in this trailer.
And beard.
Thing beard, we did.
So, John, what are your thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. I would echo all of your sentiments. This feels like the most panoramic and expansive and like blockbuster scale trailer of the ones that I have seen so far, because the others have a quality that I think does, plague certain MCU stuff where it's like, they have all the toys in the world and yet somehow the scope feels limited. And this felt, the most expansive, the biggest blend of both fun, period piece charm, but also certain sci-fi dystopian imagery and stuff like that, especially with Galactus, certain cosmic stuff. And it seems like a fun idea to have this prospect of, we have this familial unit who we're probably going to be, I imagine a lot of the fun and charm of the movie will come from just bonding with their dynamic, but it also feels like the kind of movie where they might actually not win at the end, which is just like an interesting prospect to me because, they're up against something that is so huge and insurmountable and also have to come over into our timeline. This gave me the most faith and the most sort of... this trailer swept me the most away and got me not thinking so much about things and more just being dazzled by and beholding things.
I want to speak to that really quick. I do agree. I think the ending will be them coming into our universe and maybe losing to Galactus. I do think that's what... I think we will get a Norrin Rad Silver Surfer, and that'll be kind of like the marker of different universe, like that Galactus win might happen. What I'm curious about is whether audiences will be comfortable with that with the first introduction. They'll be like, well, if they didn't win, are they heroes? But also, this last phases of Marvel has been very dark in the ending. So I'm curious about the audience reception to that potentiality because I'm wondering, more and more, if the reason audiences haven't been connecting to even the ones I have, like Thunderbolts not being to scale, was the tone. Like, I'm wondering if escapism is more the answer than, like, Empire Strikes Back reality.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps. I'm thinking that the one thing with this trailer that is perhaps the slightest bit of a I don't know if it's even a concern, is that I think Act 1, 2, and 3 are like very, very clear in how everything's going to go. Is that I imagine it's probably this Ted Gilbert show they keep showing, and I think the movie's going to start right there to establish who the characters are, and then maybe maybe we'll see some like televised things or things they captured on camera of past adventures they've had because they're well established by this point. And then and it's like, oh, we're heroes and we can't do anything wrong. And maybe that'll play towards, like I've been reading a lot of the Jonathan Hickman run. I'm pretty deep into it now. And, like one of the things you've been talking about with Reed Richards that I don't really see here is like, I think Reed's really smug and arrogant. And I don't really get that vibe from Pedro. But I'm like, with the amount of fame that they have and how much they're just getting shit done, I'm wondering if the movie will actually infuse that in the movie itself, and then there's a bit of a humbling that occurs once they go encounter Galactus. Like it looks like they go off planet and they go to see Galactus, and then Galactus, he wants to devour the planet or whatever. The part that I was picking up on that I didn't quite get in the other trailers, and maybe this is because of the Hickman run. I think Franklin Richards is going to be much more important than it's easy to just go, he's just a baby.
It's a baby.
But, without going into too much detail, I imagine there could be something with Franklin that Franklin does, or there could be a thing where Galactus wants Franklin for something. There's like a variety of things that I can see occurring here. And then, when they get off planet, they're afraid. So that's like the Act 2 part where they're like, I don't know what we're going to do. Then they're contemplating, and then Galactus comes at 3 and they have their solution. And then the ending happens. And I feel like I think something with Franklin's going to happen. So outside of like how this is exactly going to end, I'm not really sure. But again, it's about the journey. So while we're getting like clear cut plot points of like how Act 1, 2, and 3 are going to escalate, the journey's the part that has to have the engagement. And I feel like this trailer provided personality. It provided I really felt like I was stepping into a world. Like this is taking place into a different universe, and I felt like I was getting swept up into that retro world. It doesn't just look aesthetically different, it feels very different. And part of the stoicism that we were picking up on before, it's still like halfway there. But I think a lot of that personality is going to be elevated by the aura that this universe provides. And the action looked really cool to me. They're showing a little bit more of the humor with Johnny as well.
Reed looks great. The stretchy
looks pretty good. They've been using it minimally in this trailer, and it's looking pretty good. Honestly, that's that whole moment where Johnny's on the back of the thing and he's like saying, say the thing. So it will be rewarding when he says it's clobbering time in the movie. And but yeah, I mean, a big part of like with Johnny Storm and the thing is how much shit Johnny gives the thing.
And I was like, they finally did the thing where Johnny's a little annoying.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun here, and as much as like Pedro's been the lead of these trailers, I'm thinking Vanessa Kirby will be.
I think she's the lead of the film.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she'll be more the lead of the film. But you gotta sell your tickets. And
I think they're hiding the MCU audience.
1,000%.
How dare a matriarch
Justice
lead a family
for the MCU.
I do think that is what's occurring. But this is my favorite one of the 3 trailers for sure. The Fantastic Car looks great. And let's see. I mean, we didn't see any more of John Malkovich.
Nope.